Welcome to Biology 130 and 130L, which is human biology. This is an introduction to get you started in the class, since this is an online class, and it will explain how the course works. I'll have an additional video that will give you an idea of how to use the Beacon Learning and with the way that I have the course set up, if you're not familiar with Beacon Learning. So I'm your instructor. My name is George Stearns. My email is typical of what you see at Northwest, the first initial, last name at nwc.edu. And if you need to reach me by phone, I've given you my cell phone number here. I prefer that if you call me to make it between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. if at all possible. If it's outside of that time, or I may or may not answer it. If you happen to be on campus, my office location is going to be in the Pomayevich Faculty Building in room 208. Hopefully you're familiar with that. That's where your advisors, I think, are usually located, in the registrar's office, that sort of thing. My office hours change every term, so I have them posted on the syllabus, so you should check to see what those are there. But you can also send an email to me. We can take care of a lot of things by email, or we can set up a virtual, if you want to call it, office hours, where we both do it online, so we don't have to meet at campus. And that oftentimes is really a lot more convenient for people taking these online classes. So, of course, I always have some objectives. This is a class for non-science majors. You end up taking what we call Gen Ed classes to kind of round out your education, give you a little more exposure to other courses. And this particular one is going to focus on the function and structure of the human body. So we'll be looking at, as I have listed here, the organization, function, maintenance, and control of the various organ systems. We actually are going to start off with some what I call biological chemistry and the way a cell has been designed, just to give you a feel for it. And it does seem to be a little complicated, but as you go on and start looking at the body systems, those are going to make a lot more sense probably, or be easier, because these are the kinds of things that you think about on a more regular basis, whereas you may not have had any exposure to how a cell has been designed. Yeah, so that's an organ system right there. Oh, and then this is really the kind of organ that we're going to be looking at. We also talk a little bit about the scientific process and how it is applied. It's a way of thinking that we use in science, and you actually use it in your everyday life when you're problem solving. So there's a little bit of that in this course as well. So if you want to look at specific learning goals, like I said, we're going to be applying the scientific method. Then we're going to look at the characteristics of living organisms, and part of that is going to be looking at the cell structure of what we call eukaryotic cells. So we are eukaryotic organisms, humans. Bacteria are a different kind. They're called prokaryotic, and they're relatively simple, whereas eukaryotic cells are a little more complicated. And that, I believe, is going to be Chapter 2 or Chapter 3. So like I said, it's going to be might be a little daunting. But your entire grade is not focused on that one particular chapter, so the best thing to do is just try to get an appreciation for the manner in which our cells have been designed, so that they can then function for all the things that they do. We then proceed on to the various human body systems and how they're organized, how they function, and how they are regulated. Included in that is going to be something we call homeostasis, which is the maintaining the body, and examples of that would be like your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your body temperature. Those are all things that are considered to be homeostatic mechanisms, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how the body systems actually help control those things. And then, of course, we get into the movement and supports. We're going to be looking at the skeletal and the muscular system, and then how all of these systems work together, and that's going to be more of what we call the endocrine system, where your body's producing various hormones in one location of the body. They go somewhere else and tell the body what they need to be doing. rather interesting how everything works together. And then also included in this is going to be the human reproductive system as well. So this is a completely online course. You do need the textbook because there are readings that are required. The edition that we're using is going to be listed on the syllabus, so you just look on there. Sometimes you can get away with a different edition. Page numbers might be different. I think the chapters are usually in the same order. On the textbook that we use, you can either rent it or get it as an ebook. And one of the things that is required is we have these online labs through the publisher's auxiliary site, if you want to call it. It's McGraw-Hill's Connect. And since you have to purchase access to the labs there, you also get the ebook through that. And that's probably the best way to go. If you purchased the book through Amazon, they will send you have to make sure that you get the one with the access code with it. And some people have had trouble with that, getting it to them on time. So my suggestion is I have a link on the site, and you go directly to McGraw-Hill's Connect site, and then you register for Connect, which is going to include the Learn Smart Labs, and you give them your credit card number, and you get the access and the ebook, which is, I think, the least expensive way to go. Because this is offered through the Adult Degree Program, it's only an 8-week class, so there's quite a bit to do during each week. You're going to have to read 2 chapters. Like I said, the first couple of weeks are going to be a little more difficult than the following weeks. So please don't get discouraged during those 2 weeks. If you have any questions, always email me or get hold of me so we can talk about that. And if you, for some reason, you don't understand some of the information in the chapters, press on. It won't destroy you from passing the course. And I have to say, understanding how cells are designed doesn't have that much of an impact on understanding the rest of the course, which is a good thing. But for each of the chapters, there's going to be a practice quiz. You have 2 attempts on the practice quiz. After the first one, well, I'll talk about that in a little bit. We also have an exam that's about every 2 weeks. It covers 4 chapters at a time. And that particular exam is going to be timed. I have more information on that in a future slide. Also, I will have Big Blue Button sessions. That's part of Beacon Learning, where it's sort of like having a meeting with me online. We can do it privately, but I have it set up to do as a group, which works well because if you have a question, somebody else probably has that same question as well. Again, on this 2 chapters, 2 practice quizzes, please see the schedule. I have it loaded on there. You can see what is due when. Typically, quizzes and study plans are due on Sunday night by 11:59. The new week starts on Monday. And that's how I have it set up. So I will give you the chapters you need to read and usually what pages, and that will be according to the edition that we're using. So I suggest that you read the chapter. As you're reading the chapter, fill out the study plans. The study plans are divided into 2 parts. One is the terms that you need to know, and the other is concepts to understand. I only require you to submit the questions on the concepts to understand. But if you go ahead and fill out the definitions, it will help you when you're taking the quizzes and exams. So you take the quiz, there's no time limit, and you submit it. After you submit it, it will allow you to review your results, and it will show you which questions you have gotten full credit for and which ones you didn't get full credit. So you can then concentrate trying to figure out what you didn't get right on the ones that you missed so that when you retake the quiz, you can improve your score by hopefully getting the answers that you didn't get completely right or you got completely wrong and improving your score that way. Each quiz is going to be worth 20 points. That's outlined in the syllabus as well. So once you get through with one of the chapters, I suggest you then move on to the next chapter, and then you repeat that each week, 2 chapters. Again, the exams are going to cover 4 chapters, so they're about every 2 weeks. The exams are timed, and you only have 1 attempt. So these you do need to be prepared for. So that's where having the study plans completely filled out is going to be a help. So you can use it's open book, open note, open study plan, whatever you want. You just have to, it helps if you study a little bit so that you can answer some of the questions without having to look them up, because you may not have time to look every single question or every answer up. So the exams are usually worth 100 points. The exception is the last exam. It's broken into 2 parts. First 50 points is over the last couple of chapters, last 4 chapters, whatever. I think it's the last 4 chapters. And then the second half, and they're both set up as separate exams, is a comprehensive exam that we use at the university for accreditation. So my advice is when you get to a week that has an exam is to complete that exam first, because the 2 quizzes that are covered that week, except for the last week, will not be on that exam. So your first exam is going to cover chapters 1 through 4. But that's going to be in week 3 when you're working on chapters 5 and 6. So do the exam first, then go to the chapters. Again, the final is comprehensive, and it's worth 50 points. It is in place of a task stream assignment. This is the way we found best way to capture the data of your understanding and appreciation for the material. So on your syllabus, you'll see the practice quizzes. There's 16 of them worth, actually, I think, yeah, that are worth 10 points each. Study plans are worth 5 points each. And this, essentially, you're getting 5 points for being prepared for the quizzes and the exams. So I consider that to be fairly easy points to get. And then the exams, the comprehensive plus the others, is going to be worth 400 points for a total of 640. Now, Biology 130L, which is the lab portion of it, is going to be done very similar. But in this particular part of it, you're going to be looking at applying the scientific method and analyzing experimental data. This replaces actually stepping into the lab and doing the work. But the nice thing is no lab manuals required, which is good because they tend to be in the $150 to $200 range, so we're skipping that. There are going to be 1 to 3 labs each week. Some of them are set up in a quiz module in Beacon Learning. There will be some reading, and then you have some questions to answer. Others are going to be in this McGraw-Hill Connect, which is Learn Smart, and those are going to be interactive. One of the labs, Reflexes and Reflex Arc, is extra credit. It's an easy way to get some extra points, and if you didn't do well on one. So there's going to be a total of 14 labs, and each of them is worth 30 points. Beacon Learning is broken into each one of the labs is broken into several parts, but they will add up to be 30 points. And the way they work, you can, let's say you only have a few minutes, you can do one module and then on the quiz and then come back. Same thing with Learn Smart. You can do part of it and come back later. Now, the one in Learn Smart, some people have trouble getting 100% on them. For whatever reason. Some people do just fine, others don't. So what I suggest is you just go for getting 90% completion, and your score is based on how much you get completed on that. And then you have a review quiz that goes along with the Beacon Learning that's worth 10 points. So you end up with a total of 420 points for the lab. And I'm going to stop there and have a second video on how to get started.